answers, I take the questions. It's me, Austin!
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Yeah! Did he do it? Cover! Oh, and a kick out! Unbelievable!
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, make sure you click that bell so they let you know every time a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast goes live. Ladies, gentlemen, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline pay-per-views, build your own corporation, all included, totally free in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users. If you want to be a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, get a shout out like my buddy John down in Texas. John, always love giving you the shout out, brother. You're the biggest supporter of the podcast. Then stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. If you are a $15 a month contributor, you can co-host a show with me. $7.50 a month contributor, I'll enter you into a drawing to do the same. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, anything you'd like us to talk about in a future episode, drop us a line. Give us a call at the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line 267-642-1160, and we'll get to those in a future show. Got to jump right into the news today. Lots of things going on. Today is the big day. WWE is no more. Endeavor has merged with WWE. TKO is the new publicly traded ticker symbol in the New York Stock Exchange, and it's big. As soon as it goes live, today's business, they go at over $100 a share. That's a huge debut for a new ticker symbol, and I get it. We've been building up towards this since WrestleMania season. It's about time it finally happened. It is a beautiful thing. You get to see all the stars show up for the big signing. Vince McMahon was there despite the fact that he recently had back surgery. You had Triple H there. Daniel Cormier was there. Everybody who's a who's who, Nick Khan, they're all there to celebrate the merger finally going through. Dana White, all those people. And it's a beautiful thing in terms of longevity of the company. I don't foresee any scenario where TKO goes out of business. I don't really see anybody in the industry that's even close to competing with them on a global scale. So this is good business for everybody. I love that I saw articles talking about how this partnership and this merger could really allow for some mixed martial artists to extend their careers, maybe crossing over into WWE. We'll have to see how that plays out. But it was generally considering all the factors that could go wrong in these big corporate mergers. This went pretty well. Stockholders must be happy. Now, Endeavor will retain 51% of the voting shares in the new company, while the remaining stockholders hold the other 49% of the company, which is a typical business. That's kind of the way the model always works out. Vince McMahon has now slipped back into creative. He is the man who's going to oversee everything after this merger, despite the fact that Triple H has been very clearly been labeled as the head of WWE creative. I feel like that's almost like a guise or a ruse trying to throw us off. Triple H may be creating storylines, but as we found out this past Monday on Raw, Triple H is not the final say. He's not the one who gets to decide all this. After this merger, Vince McMahon is absolutely 100% in control of everything that goes on television. And there were heavy rewrites and edits right up to the last minute on Raw this week, which I think at this point everybody pretty much expects from Vince McMahon. It's kind of his MO. He's been doing this for a long time since he announced his return to the company, but it's going to get even more intense now. His recovery from his surgery has gone well, and he is clearly got his hands all over the product. He was not at Raw on Monday night. However, definitely had his hands in the mix about what was happening, made multiple changes. Now, a lot of people feel like those changes may have actually been good things. One of the ones I was not a fan of was moving the Cody Rhodes segment to later in the show and opening with Jey Uso, but whatever, it is what it is. They really got to do more with Cody. Right now, I feel like Cody's stalling, and that's not what you want to do when you got a guy you want to build towards a main event at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. But all things considered, The merger is complete. Things are good. Stockholders are happy. The company is in a good way, and this could be good for a lot of talent going forward. Now, got to stay on the WWE topic, though. When you look at everything that's going on with creative, the merger, and all that stuff, there's a lot of good things to talk about. Let's talk about some of the things that are somewhat concerning to me. One, the emphasis on Jey Uso on Raw, I'm fine with if you're really going to push him as a main event level star and eventually keep him away from the bloodline and keep him as a single star. But my concern is actually for SmackDown, because right now SmackDown, really low ratings this week. Speaking of, Raw had like historically low ratings this week, going up against a huge number for Monday Night Football, which oddly enough is the night that Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles and he's out for the year. So I don't know, I think a lot of people tuned in to see Aaron Rodgers debut, and then they were just torn apart when he went down in the very first series of the game. That being said, it wasn't enough to flip the subscribers or the viewers over to Raw. Record low. And SmackDown ratings down significantly. All this positivity we're talking about the merger, there is concern because on SmackDown, no Roman Reigns, no Jey Uso anymore, and you almost have a vibe of like a new bloodline in terms, and I shouldn't say new bloodline, but this whole Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa interplay here. Are they suddenly going to team up and go for the tag team championship? Are they going to get involved in a feud with the OC or whatever? There's so much going on SmackDown that right now is so unclear. It doesn't feel like there's a real thought out connection to what they're doing next. The Bloodline story for a long time was like the thing in wrestling, but I almost feel like they creatively put themselves in a corner, because where do you go from here? There's only so much you can do. And if you have a superstar like Roman Reigns who doesn't want to appear weekly on television, let's be honest, we could argue all we want about whether Seth Rollins has made the World Heavyweight Championship meaningful and valuable. We could talk about how Gunther and his Intercontinental Championship reign, the longest reign in the history of that championship, and how wonderful that is, and how he's brought prestige and respect back to that championship, which I agree with, which will someday will clearly propel him into the World or Universal Championship picture. But as I say that, Roman Reigns walks around with the equivalent of the two previous main championships in WWE, and we haven't seen it defended on television in forever. We haven't seen the talent on TV in forever. And look, if this was one of those things where Roman Reigns was having a medical situation, the leukemia came back, something like that, I would get it. You vacate the titles, let him take care of himself. That does not seem like what's going on here. It's almost like one of these less is more things. They think by keeping him off TV, like people will pop to see him when he comes to TV, and I get that. But here's the problem. You just had a corporate merger, and you're getting low ratings. You have to have superstars that every single week draw in enough viewers that right now when you're negotiating television rights deals, you're still able to command the high numbers that you're looking to get. Right now it looks like after the Endeavor and WWE merger into TKO that there's a very good possibility that USA Network retains the Raw brand, okay, and the NXT brand, but the SmackDown brand, there is almost no chance, in my opinion, that stays with Fox. I think Disney will probably move in. I know there's conversation about Amazon jumping in. I don't see a streaming platform that's limited to one scope of audience. I really just don't think that's the best move for wrestling. It might be for Vince McMahon and TKO, but it's not, I don't think, the best thing in terms of wrestling fans, especially with the number of people who don't use Amazon for their viewing pleasure. Many do, not all do, not enough do. I would much rather see Disney do it, and then they would put it onto one of their affiliates, either on FX or potentially putting it on ABC or something like that. I very much think that's the way it's going to go, but I don't think that the TKO Corporation is going to get the number that they're looking to get in terms of the new television rights deal because of ratings like you're seeing on SmackDown. And SmackDown was not because of going head-to-head with football. SmackDown is because you have not, as a company, invested in creating enough not new stars, but stars at a level that they can carry the show without Roman Reigns or without the Bloodline or without Jey Uso. Or what is your answer? Do you move Cody Rhodes over to SmackDown? That's what a lot of people are theorizing right now. But if you do that, you have now taken away from Raw. So now you have to find some way to replace his value on Raw. And Jey Uso, for as much as I love him and I think he is absolutely worthy, I don't think there's enough fandom for him right now to replace Cody Rhodes' value leaving. So they got to get into building stars. And that brings me to one of the other issues this week, which is LA Knight's contract negotiations with the company now that the merger's taken place. Apparently, a report came out today that they're far apart on dollars and cents. The guy is the most organically over talent there has been in years, probably since the yes movement of Daniel Bryan. Before that was probably Zack Ryder when he got himself over. It doesn't happen very often. And the reality is you do not want to, lose this momentum. And dollars and cents, this is a $9 billion to $13 billion, depending on the figure you look at, dollar company. You have the money. Lock this man down, give him a 5-year deal, make it lucrative, and push him to the moon, because he may be one of the guys that can carry the brand without Roman Reigns having to be on television. I do love the interplay between Paul Heyman and LA Knight this past Friday on SmackDown. I think that's obviously leading towards something in the future. Long-term story planning. I love it. I would not make it for the Universal Championship. That has to go to Cody at Mania. But after Cody wins that championship, it would be a great opportunity to revisit that and have Roman and LA Knight find a way, maybe next SummerSlam, to be in the ring together. That being said, other things, WWE news, because I don't want to forget anything. I really think when you look at what's been going on, like I said about the new bloodline, quote unquote new bloodline, that only works if you bring in new members. I don't know who you're going to bring in. I know there's, Umaga's son is out there. He just left Reality of Wrestling. There were some irreconcilable differences with he and Booker T. I know that maybe perhaps you can convince Jacob Fatu to come in. There's other members who aren't yet in WWE. Maybe you expand with some other talent that in some way, shape, or form are related. Maybe, if her contract, I don't know when her contract is up, but whenever Trinity Fatu, Naomi's contract expires with Impact, maybe you bring her back. I don't know what you do, but you have to do something. You have to inject some new life into something. The LWO. I mean, you've got this thing going on now with NXT with Dominic Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Maybe that leads to something at some point. But you got to do something to freshen up some of these groups. And I love what's going on with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. I absolutely love their interplay with the Judgment Day. I'd love to see that. Maybe at Survivor Series. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But there's a lot that could be great. But there's not enough bona fide draws on a Roman Reigns level. And the heck with the Roman Reigns level. On a John Cena / Rock / Austin / Hogan / pick somebody, The Undertaker, whatever, level that can drive the millions and millions of fans to the network every week, despite the fact that football may be on TV or some other show. That's what you need, and we don't have that right now. You have attempts at popping some audience. I mean, even this past week, right? On Raw, we see the return of Nia Jax. I think it's a good rehire. I know there's people flipping out about how she hurts people in the ring and all these kinds of things. I don't care. At this point, I need something new, fresh, and exciting. And not that she's new, but it's fresh because she's been gone a hot minute. She got a great return pop at the Royal Rumble. I'm thrilled that they have her back, and I'm okay with her being back, but they got to do something effective. I like what they started on Raw with her. Okay, I'm okay with that. The word is Kairi Sane, her last Stardom appearance is on October 9th. She'll be in a 6-woman tag team match, and then she's come back to WWE. I'm sure she's thrilled about Nia Jax since they have a history there with her getting hurt by Nia Jax. But bringing her back is a good thing. But at the same time, if you saw at a house show the other day, Asuka and Charlotte were facing off in the ring, and Charlotte defeats Asuka, and then she goes out of character and hugs Asuka and celebrates with Asuka. And the word is, Asuka put out a tweet the other day where it's our tweet. I don't even know what you call it anymore with this X stuff or Instagram or whatever post it was, where essentially alluding to her time in WWE may be drawing to a close. She may be retiring. If you're bringing Kairi Sane back in, who, by the way, is being influenced by how strongly Io Sky was being booked, and now I feel like Io Sky has dropped off the radar, and she's the women's champion. And then you're going to lose Asuka. It's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like you're losing one, gaining one. You need to find a way to build a larger quantity of superstars and showcasing more of them. We have the same formula both on Raw, SmackDown, and on NXT and AEW programming. They do the same thing. There's all these run-ins and people doing a promo and somebody interrupts them, and then there's a big argument, and it's usually the same storylines over and over and over again. It's too much. We need more in-ring action, and right now we're not getting enough of that on any show's programming Certainly not on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, and even to some degree on AEW programming with all the interview interruptions they have there. I love some of the interviews. I love the Samoa Joe MJF dialogue this past week, but there is so much more that can be done, and they're going to have to find a way to do just that, and especially in AEW. As everybody knows, granted I haven't done an episode in a hot minute because I've been getting used to the new school year. I'm very busy in my professional life. But, we haven't talked about the CM Punk situation. Nick Khan addressing it today during a media scrum, talking about how, people right away, they want to know, is CM Punk coming back to WWE? The quote that we have, actually, eWrestling News put this out and said, listen, we only have respect for Phil. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and tried to do with UFC. Not many people can actually get in there and do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, and we wish him nothing but the best. If you ask me, that does not sound like they're bringing him back to the company, but it also leaves the door open to do something. I would not be hopeful or optimistic it's going to happen. I know Kevin Nash was in the news this week talking about how he would love to get in the ring with Punk at the Royal Rumble. He'd like to go in. That was a match that was supposed to happen years ago, 2016, I believe. I would love to see that too, but we've got a lot to work through to have any possibility of something like that. So we've got in AEW, you lose CM Punk because of his whole melee and stuff after All Out. You got Jack Perry, who's indefinitely suspended, and rightfully so. And what bothers me is we've spent so much time building a show, Collision, around CM Punk, building these stars like Jack Perry for something like this to go and become bigger stories than the actual shows. All In and All Out should have been the talk of the town. Instead, all we've had is conversations of the negative variety on AEW because of CM Punk or Jack Perry or whatever. And let's be honest, coming out of this past week, one, I love Bryan Danielson being over on Collision to replace Punk. He's the perfect replacement. He's an incredible talent, but let's be honest, he was very honest in his promo that he is winding down his full-time career. The word is he's going to be a part-time talent going forward anyways. I love the match with Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream that's coming up, but let's be honest. You've got talents on the AEW roster that right now should have been getting a push and have gotten nothing. You've got Miro. Miro is one of the most talented professional wrestlers in the world. He's essentially done nothing since being in AEW. And I don't want to care about the TNT Championship run. He ended up losing the belt to a guy 1/3 his size. Terrible booking, in my opinion. I don't care how much people like Darby Allin and talents like that, or Fuego del Sol, or any of these small guys that have challenged for that championship, or Sammy Guevara. I actually like Guevara. I think he's worthy, but you've done nothing with Miro. You've done nothing of value with Powerhouse Hobbs. How can you have someone as talented as Powerhouse Hobbs and in all the time he's been there not find something incredibly effective to do with him? Brian Cage, you brought him in, put him in a world championship program, and then he just kind of threw him to the wayside. Brian Cage is one of the most athletically gifted, best bodies in the business, and he's a big man. How do you mess up Brian Cage? And don't even get me started on Wardlow. The guy had so much buzz. He was like the second coming of Goldberg, and they've lost it. They've lost all of it. There's nobody's asking about where Wardlow is right now because he's been so far out of place, out of mind, out of sight that no one cares anymore. You destroyed his push. And don't get me wrong. There's a couple people I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing with Christian Cage. I like what they're doing with Luchasaurus, even though I think he should be carrying his own championship belt. I think the thing with Christian has kind of played its course. I'd get rid of that. But you gotta push some people and create and help with growing the correct people. Jack Perry, clearly a bad choice. The guy is just, I don't know if it's maturity or what it is. I have a lot of appreciation for his talent, but he's 170 pounds soaking wet. That's not somebody who I will ever realistically believe in a legit fight would beat someone like how Powerhouse Hobbs or Brian Cage. I get it. It's pro wrestling. You can book whatever you want. Rey Mysterio did it to Great Khali. I get it. But sometimes it has to be a little more believable than this, and it's just not. And I hope AEW rights the ship because their roster is so incredibly talented, but they have been dropping the ball lately. Too much repetitiveness. I love that they try to give us dream matches every once in a while, but even that gets to be too much. You gotta find a way to write a television show week by week with long-term storytelling, like the Adam Cole MJF storyline. That was magnificent. But it's like the only magnificent storyline. Did anybody really get sucked into the best friends in the BCC? I know I didn't. I love it that they each got their wins and whatever, but like, why is Claudio Castagnoli not a major focal point of your brand? You're doing it with Moxley. Why are you not? Why is Claudio? He's the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. Why is he being booked in essentially upper mid-level matches. Eddie Kingston, I love Eddie Kingston. The guy deserves so much more. Finally, he and Castagnoli will probably get in the ring. That'll be great, but it'll be done in 2 weeks and be moving on. Like, we need more sustainable long-term storytelling. You need to maximize the use of Chris Jericho. I think he is, I don't know how Chris Jericho is doing what he's doing at his age. I do love what he's doing with Guevara. The women's division, kind of in the dumper. I'm hoping Thunder Rosa coming back fixes that. We'll have to see. There's just so much going on. And the last thing for tonight, got to touch on Impact 1000. Congratulations. I get it. We haven't seen it yet. Spoilers are out there. Feel free to look them up if you'd like. But some great things are going to happen at Impact 1000. It's going to be some people you really are going to enjoy seeing. Some from yesteryear, some current stars. You get to see where the company is headed in the future because some of the best and brightest talent in the roster are going to have some prime spots on this show. And it should just be lights out fantastic. I'm very happy for them. I saw Dixie Carter had statements out about, Impact 1000. I really love everything they've been doing, and I really hope that this really helps build their brand because of all the major companies, WWE, New Japan, AEW, Impact, GCW, everybody seems to get so fixated on their guys. Impact is the one company I feel like tries giving everybody a shot at some point. And I love that. Everybody. Moose has been a main eventer. Heck, if you go back years, we had a period where it was Brian Cage and Tessa Blanchard and all these people getting into the world title picture, and they just never stopped. Trey Miguel getting in there and Josh Alexander and just the constant influx of new people. Alex Shelley, who you never could have convinced me was a world championship contender, he clearly is. Chris Sabin winning a 10th, I shouldn't say that, spoiler alert, 10th X Division Championship of the show. The return of Team 3D, or the Dudley Boys, however you want to refer to them. Some other shocking returns that night. There's going to be a lot of great stuff. Congratulations goes out to Impact Wrestling. I think what they're doing is fantastic, and I really appreciate how far they've come in the last couple of years to be a legit brand that doesn't just pander, and that really takes wrestlers and emphasizes wrestlers and gives everybody a chance to really showcase whatever their subtle nuance and speciality is in wrestling. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com. They produce a lot of the music and sound effects we use in our shows. Today's show is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game by Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking some time with us tonight. And until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you later.